Alrighty, good afternoon, folks. We're returning from our morning recess for the purpose of considering, I believe we have 3 land use items today. One is I believe it's filing 8 of Spring Valley Ranches, and we have a PUD amendment and filing 4 for Independence. So all 3 hearings will run in generally the same manner. The applicant, staff will present. We may have questions for staff at that time or not, and we'll ask the applicants to present. And again, may have questions. We'll open for public comment at that time. After public comment, if there's issues raised that need to be responded to, we'll ask staff and applicant to do that as well. And then based on the information we received during the hearing and what we've been provided with ahead of the hearing, we'll make a decision, and those decisions on each could be to approve with conditions or to deny, or if more information is required, to continue to another date. So that's generally the sequence that all hearings covered, regardless of what the specifics of the application are. So I guess with that, it's 1:02, and Emily, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Thayer?
Here.
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Schroeder?
Here.
Okay, so we have a quorum, and I will turn this over to Mark for the first hearing after we open the hearing. Dallas, could you open the hearing, please?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to open a public hearing on Spring Valley Ranch filing 8 final plat.
We have a motion?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to open public hearing on the Spring Valley Ranch filing 8 final plat. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're in public hearing. Now, Mark, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, I'm Mark Denreader, Director of Community and Economic Development for Elbert County Government. Today we're here to present to you Spring Valley Ranch filing number 8, case number FP-22-0025. This is a final plat for 44 single-family residential lots. Here's some details on the landowner, applicant, etc. Spring Valley Land Investments. The applicant rep is C.J. Kirst. The location is actually Section 33, Planning Area F, to be exact. It's east of Spring Valley Ranch Golf Course. Here's a vicinity map. You can note there the yellow item on the map. That's the location of this subject property. Here's the zoning map. To the north, we have a PUD and agricultural zone property. To the south, we have ag and also residential ag, RA1 subdivisions that include O'Brien Valley. To the east, we have zoning ag, and to the west, we have PUD, ag, and residential agriculture, RA1, and residential agriculture, RA. Subdivisions would include Deer Creek Ranch, Farm, Rambling Rose, and Wild Rose. Here's a zoomed in version, if you will, an aerial shot, and you can clearly see with the star there that that's the filing 8 area within Spring Valley Ranch. The process here, we took this before the Planning Commission on October 17 of this year. The Planning Commission did recommend approval with a 5-1 vote in favor. And here we are today with the BOCC hearing. The referral process, you can see there on the slide, and it was in your packet in terms of what agencies were connected with. The Colorado Division of Water Resources, DWR, they did not have any objections. Spring Valley Ranch subdivision filing 8 does have adequate water supply. Rattlesnake Fire Protection District also didn't have any objections. There is a safety agreement in place with fire protection. The Elbert County engineer, there were a few items that were addressed, including drainage and traffic. and they were all resolved. I think this is an appropriate time for me to just mention that there was a letter sent to the county dated November 9. It was from Orton, Kavanaugh, Holmes, and Hunt. This is an attorney firm that represents Spring Valley Ranch Master Owners Association. The letter, it outlines there is some concern with the proposed drainage improvements. We also received an email from the applicant highlighting in an email that was sent by the applicant yesterday to the HOA's legal counsel explaining the situation. I imagine this is going to be brought up during the applicant's presentation and possibly during public comment, but I did want to make mention of it right now during our staff presentation. And with that, Mr. Chair, may I distribute a copy of these documents to the board at this time?
Yeah, please do.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll approach the bench. Mr. Chair, may I proceed?
Would you give us a couple of minutes to read through this?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I agree. That's probably discussion with the applicant when the time comes on that. If you could continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So here's the review criteria for this application. It comes out of Article 1C of the Elbert County Subdivision Regulation. It lists 5 review criteria for these type of applications as it relates to subdivisions. Number 1, whether the subdivider has provided evidence that provision has been made for a water supply that is sufficient. We believe that the subdivider has provided, in fact, they did provide a will serve letter for filing aid from Spring Valley Metro District Number 1. This district has previously provided proof of supply that was deemed sufficient and approved by the Division of Water Resources for the PUD. Number 2 is whether the subdivider has provided evidence to establish that if a public sewage disposal system is proposed, provision has been made for such a system, and if other methods of sewage disposal are proposed, evidence that such systems would comply with state and local laws. As previously stated, the subdivider has provided that will serve letter for filing aid, and the district does have adequate facilities to provide sewer service to this subject property. Number 3 in the review criteria states whether the subdivider has provided evidence to show that all areas of the proposed subdivision which may involve soil or topographical conditions presenting hazards or requiring special precautions have been identified by the subdivider. This has been reviewed by the engineer, and any issues that arose were resolved. Number 4 and 5 here on this slide, whether the applicant is in compliance with the requirements of the Elbert County subdivision and zoning regulations. That's number 4. The proposed application, in our view, is in compliance with the requirements outlined in our zoning and subdivision regulations. And number 5 is whether the application is generally consistent with the intent, policies, and goals of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. And we also believe that this proposal does support the comp plan in the goals outlined therein. The Planning Department does recommend that the Board of County Commissioners find that the water supply is sufficient, sewage disposal as well, no soil or topography that is going to be impeding with the development. The plat does comply with Elbert County regulations, and further, it does comply with the comprehensive plan. So our recommendation would be that you, the Board of County Commissioners, would approve the requested Spring Valley Ranch filing number 8, FP-220025 final plat. Here are the conditions that we would like you to consider. 1 is the applicant would be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of a decision by this board. 2, the final plat will not be effective until the fees are paid and conditions of approval are met and that final plat is recorded. Number 3, recordation of any appropriate documentation would occur within 180 days of the Board of County Commissioners' approval. And number 4, that any building permits issued will not take place until any applicable filing roads are inspected and accepted by the county into the 2-year warranty period. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. That concludes staff report at this time, and we're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff at this time? Okay. Yeah, I just had the one you said the Planning Commission recommendation was 5-1. Do you have a just summary of what the one dissenting concern was?
Pardon me, Mr. Chair, for this one, I do not have that available to share with you at this time.
Okay, no, that's fine, thanks.
Thank you.
And then I guess in summary, this is 44 1-acre lots that are part of the 1786 that were entitled decades ago.
Yes,
That's
yes, sir.
a small portion of the.
You're back then.
Okay, so I was going to invite up the applicant, but you're here, so if you have anything to add, Mr. Marshall, and obviously this kind of late.
Yeah, just a few
Discussion.
things. Obviously, Spring Valley's been on the books for a long time. Filing 8 is the second last filing. We have one filing left, which is filing 10, which we're working with staff on that right now. These are large lots. It's one of the few areas in Spring Valley where we have 1 acre or larger lots. There's one other section in there in filing 1 that we did that way. So these will be more expensive homes, and I guess the things that are of interest here is we do have a central water and a central sewer system out there. Filing 8 will be the last leg of the loop, the master water loop that connects all of the outer areas of the eastern side of Spring Valley Ranch. So this will, although we've got looped water lines in all the various subdivisions, this is going to actually complete the water loop from one subdivision to the next. So that's material. The other thing is, and I know Mr. Wall's here today, and I know he wants to speak to you. I did just introduce myself to him before the meeting. We're going to try to sit down afterwards for a few minutes and talk about a few things that he's concerned about. I haven't had a chance to talk directly with him until today. We have been working with the Byron McDaniel, who is the president of the HOA board, and we did, on this particular plat, one of the things we did early on, we needed some right-of-way that was in an open space tract that was owned by the HOA. Years ago, when I was the president of the HOA, I made the decision to deed some of the open space tracts to the HOA. It would just seem like it was the right place to put it, with the understanding that we'd be able to get what we need down the road as far as right-of-ways and easements, construction easements, that type of thing. The other area of concern that I know Mr. Wall has is the detention pond. When we went through the design process and the review process, Kimley Horn was adamant that detention pond be placed there. Initially, we didn't expect to have it there, but that's where it ended up. And it does obviously channel the flows when they come down out of filing 8. There's a slope coming down from filing 8 down into what we call planning area E. Mark, if you can put that exhibit back up that showed the aerial photograph, that would be useful. Okay. Yep. You just went zipping by it there. Keep going. There it is. There it is. So you can see the big star with filing 8. The detention pond is located towards the south end of filing 8 on the western side, and it is in between the filing 8 lots and what we called planning area E back in the day, which I believe was filing 2. And again, Mr. Wall actually had some legitimate questions and concerns. One was maintenance and possibly even ownership of the property. I did tell him earlier here when we talked that this would definitely be maintained by the Metro District, not the HOA. And the Metro District would be willing to take ownership of the pond if the HOA didn't want to have it. So that's one of the issues that I know is out there. Anyways, the detention thing, though, again, Kimley Horn was adamant that detention pond be there. We need it for water quality. Detention ponds, by their very nature, are generally dry most of the time. This year was an abnormally soggy year. It was almost a Noah's Ark year. We did have the 100-year flood, we think, at least 3 times, which is, I guess we're good for 300 years now. But so it was an unusually wet year this year, but the detention ponds are generally dry most of the time. They do drain fairly quickly, and they do capture the water, and they actually, in this case, they prevent water from actually getting down into that filing 2 parcel E area. So it's actually an improvement that enhances the drainage for everybody. And I think I've covered most of the salient points. These homes will be larger. They are large lots. We're expecting more of a semi-custom luxury type product line. There's a handful of builders around town that do that kind of stuff. It is only 44 lots, and we expect these homes to start close to the $1 million range and go up from there.
Thanks. Any questions?
Yeah, just a quick question. Looking at the northern part of this, it looks like it ties into 174. 174 doesn't come across there, does it?
It doesn't tie, well, years and years ago, I don't know how to phrase this exactly without being really sarcastic, so I won't. The bottom line is there was somebody on the county side way back in the day that thought that we should connect to something that didn't exist. We objected adamantly. So there is a stub that shows that it could go over to 174 when and if it ever gets built. We are not going to build that. We've made it very clear that that would be built by somebody else. And we do connect into the parcel G lots, which is the filing 6 that was approved about 2 years ago. And you can see on that aerial, you can see that it's already being graded. Those lots are actually finished now and the roads are paved. So we will be connecting right into filing 6. So there's two points of access, and we did create the third point of access coming straight down from filing 8 down to the midpoint on Augusta. And we did work with the HOA on getting that right away, both for that connection and the connection to the south into planning area E. That land was deeded to the development entity back about a year ago, if I remember. And we did work with the HOA board and their management company in getting those right-of-ways approved or conveyed at the time. The other thing is we did have a community meeting before the final plat was submitted. We did have a handful of people that showed up. I don't remember exactly who came and who didn't, but it was relatively lightly attended. I think there might have been 10 or 12 people. We answered questions. We did talk about the plan. We talked about the fact that we would probably need some construction easements and possibly, we didn't know exactly what this detention pond was going to look like at that point, so it's been awkward to talk to anybody about it, and quite honestly, we were just waiting until we got through the final plat before we got into any real detailed discussions. But I've had discussions with the chairman or the president of the HOA board. He's only one guy. There's 5 members on the board. He doesn't make the decisions for the board. It's a democratic process where they vote on stuff. And I haven't had it. COVID again rears its ugly head here, but I used to meet with the board on a fairly regular basis, and COVID kind of changed the way we meet, and just haven't had a chance to even have a face-to-face meeting over the last 2 or 3 years because so much of it's virtual. So that's maybe part of the problem here. There's definitely some confusion, I think, between some board members and what we thought we were doing and maybe what they thought they were doing. So Dan and I are going to talk about that after.
You mentioned there were some informal talks. Is there anything more formalized in using that right away, or?
No, we have the right-of-ways dedicated. That part is done. We have a recorded deed. I have a copy here with me today. The deed for the right-of-way is recorded. What we don't have is the construction easement. Again, when you start looking at how you actually build something, you usually have to, you're either going up or down or slope or something, but you usually have to grade an area that's wider. And quite honestly, a construction easement for a road is, it's disturbed for a relatively short period of time. It gets reseeded, and it's a non-event. It's a very minor issue. Detention pond is a facility that'll be there long term, and that can be done either in an easement or it can be done in an acquisition of property, one or the other. There's a couple.
What would be the size of the detention pond?
CJ, do you know the actual size of it? Yeah, I think it's in the 1.5 to 2 acre range, which is reasonably, common.
All right. Excuse me. I don't have any questions at this time, but
Okay.
I would open up for public comment.
The other thing that Bart and I, the county attorney, have talked about is on the final plat we would put as a condition. note on the plat that we need to work out the detention pond issue and the easement issues with the HOA prior to building it.
Thank you. So at this time, I'd open for public comment if there is any. Sir?
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Wall. I'm the current vice president of the Spring Valley Ranch Master Owners HOA. I do have one handout for each of you, if I may.
Please, yes.
Approach.
And
It's simply diagrams.
And if I may, sir, are you speaking privately or as a representative of the board?
That's a good question.
Okay.
I need 3 individuals to be the board. We need a quorum. All the other individuals work. I can relay information, what the board has agreed upon, and what the information they have and what they don't have. If you have any questions about the letter you received from our attorney, I can answer those if anyone here has a question.
I think it actually laid out fairly clearly what the concerns are, but I'm assuming since it's a letter from the attorney to the board that there was a board majority that requested.
It was a 5-0 vote, yes. Okay. It was unanimous that this letter be sent forward. We couldn't get any of this information in reference to the schematics until the planning board approved back on the 17th. On the 18th was the first time I was able to get my hands on it. At that meeting, though, a chairman by the last name of Wilcox directed myself and an individual identified as CJ to go outside afterwards and discuss this matter, that there's some confusion. I provided CJ with my phone number. He already had my name written down, and I've not heard a word since then. So there's nothing coming from that side of the valley, if you want to call it that. Our contention is it is private property. There is a small easement that runs along the right side of the area, but it does not encompass all his construction. We would like to have been notified that this property was being taken over. It cannot be annexed under the declaration that Mr. Marshall originally made the area with. There is requirements within our declaration that any pond, any type of irrigation, any water runoff area, we are responsible for the maintenance. It's written into our declaration. That area would be in our property. We don't really want to have any type of liability. Some kid fall in there and drowned. It's our property. There's nothing that I can see anywhere that he's currently going to cover anything like that. There are some other issues in reference to the easement number. There was a gas and oil company that came through that valley years ago looking for gas or oil. They had an easement number assigned to them. From my understanding, and I have not seen this firsthand, that easement number now has been used on every single easement in the schematics in reference to that valley area, the exact same. I don't know that for truth, but that's what was explained to me. Is a issue. We had a road that we sold or gave right of way to where the star is, the left side, you can see it going across. Mr. Marshall came to our
Chair,
HOA and
3
asked, can I
minutes.
please purchase the property? Did I miss something?
You're the only one speaking today, so.
Okay. Should I keep
Yeah,
talking?
yeah, please.
We did let him purchase that road across there. It's 60 feet wide, and it goes from east to west. We're now seeing in the schematics some areas that are 190 feet wide. That we didn't agree to. The roadway continues through Phase 8 and comes out the other end of it into a private individual's property line, Mr. Youngland, Marshall Youngland. He didn't know that there's a road coming onto his property, but it's not. It stops right at ours. But we own the property behind Phase 8 also. So, again, apparently CJ explained to me that's for future development. So
We were told to extend that by previous staff. The Youngman said they didn't want it, we said we didn't want to extend it, staff required it to extend it.
okay, but it's still there on the master. Other than that, though, we are in no way, shape, or form against filing 8. He's been very nice to us many times, no problems. He communicates with us, but we had no idea about this extra construction going to go out into the center of our valley. That's what we're contesting, and that's why we would like to ask the board to either table today the vote or to postpone it or send it back to planning where we could get this resolved. Otherwise, we're off to arbitration, and that's a 50-50 shot. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do we have any other public comment? Seeing none, I guess, would you like to respond, Mr. Marshall?
Obviously, there's some confusion here. Dan and I have never met before. I think we've probably been on some phone calls or conference calls over the last year or two. We have been discussing things with the president of the board. It was not my understanding that it's my understanding that the board did not vote on whether they would send that legal letter or not. I don't know that that's relevant at this point. It probably isn't. But bottom line is we want to try to work things out, and we do need to finalize an agreement with the HOA to be able to acquire the easements we need to build what we need to build. I stated earlier, we are going to maintain the pond through the Metro District. The Metro District will agree, and I'm the president of the Metro District, we will agree to indemnify the HOA from any claims, losses, damage, anything like that. I'm even willing to actually acquire the property from the HOA and go through an evaluation process to determine what that land is worth. So again, there's things here that I haven't had a chance to talk to Mr. Wall about. Byron McDaniel and I have had several conversations on a lot of this. I haven't talked to Jeff Church much. He's the past president of the HOA, but I've worked with Jeff extensively on other things in the past. And I know there's one relatively new board member, and then I think is there 2 new board members, Dan, or one? No, the other 2 guys. One guy's like brand new, so he's just new to the deal. But it's certainly our intent to work with the HOA and make sure that this is amicable to both parties. We definitely don't want the HOA to have any liability for any of this. That was never the intent. And we did have the community meeting back probably about, I don't know, Mark, was that a year ago? When did we have that? The neighborhood meeting? Neighborhood information meeting, whatever.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was May of, so almost 2 years ago. And, nothing at that point. And we would have had we wouldn't have had final design at that point. That's the problem. First of all, you can't talk to all the neighbors all the time. And we haven't even been able to talk to the board much. Again, when I talk to Byron, I believe, I know he's only one member, but we've been obviously, we're at the point right now where we do need to sit down and work out the easements. We do have what we believe is a final design finally. It took a while to get here. And quite honestly, with filing 8, the back and forth with Kimley Horn on the drainage was tedious at best. I mean, it just back and forth and stuff that we just, they tried to, that pond has been designed in conformance with the county's rules and regs, and design guidelines and the mile-high flood district, which is the old urban drainage. So, I mean, we've been held to a standard here that on this detention pond that's quite honestly probably not required in Elbert County. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got just one question. Is this misunderstanding, as you put it, between the special district and the HOA, would you accept as a condition of approval that such formal agreement must be in place before you could commence?
Yeah, I said that earlier in my comments. I mean, we're willing to put a note on the plat even that says we can't build it until we work out the issues with the homeowners association. I mean, obviously they have land that we need to use, and again, we're willing to acquire the detention pond dirt. I understand where Dan's coming from on liability, totally. I wouldn't want it either, so we're happy to purchase that land and go through the valuation process like we did on some other land that we purchased from the HOA a while back.
I know the language at the end of the letter that came from their attorneys was essentially to consult with the association for a drainage easement, cost-sharing agreement regarding the proposed improvements, any other future maintenance, insurance, repair and replacement of the drainage improvements on association property, and that such easement and agreement be reflected on in a recorded agreement on the final plat. Does that generally cover what you're?
Yeah, I think that.
And I would probably add, or otherwise acquire the property.
I think that covers it. I mean, we fully expected to engage in conversations with the board on these issues as we went forward. We have not, this deal, obviously approving the plat is one step, but we still have a long way to go before we get to the point where we're building anything out there.
If you're willing to agree to a condition that mirrors the language that their attorney asked for, I think.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, we totally acknowledge that we need to work something out with the HOA on the construction easement and the detention pond.
Works for you guys? Yeah, what I'd like to do actually is take a brief recess. Mark, you've got the letter. If you could add that as a condition on the slide, just so it's public to everybody, that would be useful. So it's 1:38. We'll be in recess till 1:45.
We're live.
I know the applicant stepped up. Mark, could you make one change in the second full line from the bottom and just replacement of, instead of the drainage improvements, any drainage improvements on the association's property? I think that would then leave it open if the decision is to acquire the property, then there wouldn't be any HOA property involved. So, but I think with that change, it leaves it open to either an agreement with or acquisition of property.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will do that right now.
While you're making that change, we'll close public comment at this time. We've received it. So.
The change has been made, Mr. Chair.
Do you want to extend the recess or? Okay. Yeah, well. Oh, it's just it said repair and replacement of the drainage improvements. We just said any drainage improvements to leave open the potential that you would acquire the land and there wouldn't be such improvements. That would be the. Capturing this on the record, I'd have to ask you to use the microphones. The representative from the HOA was asked if the condition being...
Apologize, I'm talking back.
No problem.
We were having a discussion. As we did, there may be, other than an easement, a purchase of the property. If that could be put in there, if you want to purchase it.
Yeah.
Now, I can't speak for the HOA. We all know that. We've all been HOAs someplace in Colorado. But easement / purchase of property, then it'll be his problem.
Maybe what we say is,
Yeah.
we also need a construction easement for the right-of-way that comes down. There's a couple of easements there, so I think it's construction / drainage easements and/or the purchase of property. And obviously, the HOA and ourselves would have to agree to do it. That would be the intent, is to work something out that we agree to.
Right. I have to go back and consult with 377 homeowners. I think that would be a good deal. I don't know if we can table this vote.
Yeah, we don't need to table this.
Yeah, honestly, I think if the...
Say yes.
If the condition is broad enough to get to a resolution, if a resolution doesn't happen and the condition's not met,
Good.
nothing would go
I
forward.
agree with you then, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Again, the word purchase in there would be,
Yeah.
I think, more
yeah, how about,
to the HOA.
How about if we say the acquisition of, or the agreement to grant construction easements and/or the purchase of property necessary to construct a detention pond?
that sounds good. I would ask that,
Right.
we'll do another 10-minute recess and that you gentlemen work out the language with Mark.
The issue, though, is
Yeah, and I do recognize.
We
that
don't
pe-
want to have liability.
Right,
So
understood. And
Purchase would be a big issue on this.
I think
acquisition.
I'm just talking off the top of my head, and there is 377 homes in the HOA, but there's 5 people that represent them. And
Understood,
Dan's
yeah.
only one of the 5.
Yeah.
So he can't speak on behalf of.
I understand, but I think if we get to the point where you're either purchasing or making an agreement,
I've been doing this long enough to know that I think this is definitely a situation where the Metro District comes in and purchases the drainage pond land required and easements required, so that we take all the liability away from the HOA.
okay, that makes sense to me, so I would just, okay,
We'll agree to indemnify it.
okay. So we'll do a 10-minute recess and get the language straight for both of you.
Okay, we're live.
All righty, thank you. We weren't all staring at you for the last 10 minutes, Mark, don't worry. So, this is the condition that the applicant and Mr. Wells, was it? Was it Wells or Wall? Okay, thank you, agreed to. So with this, does the applicant accept the conditions as displayed? Yes. Okay, just for the record, since he was off mic, he did indicate yes. So with that, I would accept a motion.
Could I verify the actual number? I think I missed one when I was writing it down. FP 22-0025. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve Spring Valley Ranch filing 8 final plat, FP 22-0025, with the conditions of approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Spring Valley Ranch filing 8 final plat with the conditions that are displayed. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. I would accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close public hearing on Spring Valley Ranch filing 8 final plat, FP 22-0025.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're out of public hearing. Thank you for making sausage with us today. Thanks. Need a couple of moments to reset, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, while Mark's resetting, I'd accept a motion to open public hearing on the Independence Third PUD Amendment, lot width.
Mr. Chairman, I move we open the hearing on.
Microphone.
Shut it off instead of on. Mr. Chairman, I move that we open the hearing for FP-22-0062, Independence Filing 4, Final Plat.
This is, we're doing the,
Did I get the wrong one?
yeah, that's the next one. We've got the PUD amendment.
Let me try again. I move that we open the meeting for Independence Third PUD Amendment, lot width.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open the public hearing on the third PUD amendment for Independence relating to lot widths. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So again, we'll follow the same general procedure. Staff will present. We'll invite the applicant to provide any additional information. We have questions for both at that time, or we may hold them. Then we'll open for public comment and then close out to address any issues that come up from public comment and make a final ruling or continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Again, I'm Mark Denreader, Director of Community and Economic Development, and here to present the staff findings of Independence Third PUD Amendment, Lot Width, case number PU-20231001. The request today for this application is a text amendment to the development standards for a planned unit development, PUD. This case needs to come first before the second agenda item related to Independence today, the filing for final plat. Details here, this is CB Independence Holding Company. The applicant rep is Jim Yates, and location of the subject property is 1001 Hilltop Road, Elizabeth, Colorado. This is a planned unit development off County Road 158. Here's the vicinity map. You can see in the top left corner there with the yellow pin, and that's the vicinity map. Here's the aerial. Get a shot of that there. Planning Commission was held on October 17, 2023, and the Planning Commission recommended approval with a 6-0 vote in favor. And this is the BOCC meeting to hear this case. Referrals went out on this one. There were no concerns with this application. The proposed amendment really reflects two minor items here. First, to amend the lot width criteria to create minimum width standards and take out the range of lot widths that currently exist in the PUD. And second, to add a note in figure 5.1, which would modify the side yard setback criteria for alternative single-family lots only. The review criteria for this one relates to Article 7F of the Elbert County zoning regulations, and it provides a process of review for planned unit developments, and the criteria for that is as follows. Number one is whether the proposed rezoning conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals and policies of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan, and this is already an approved PUD and aligns with the goals of our comp plan here at the county. Number two, whether the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding land uses, and this PUD, as mentioned, has previously been approved and deemed compatible with the surroundings. And number three, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the provision of public services. And the PUD does have its own water and wastewater services, and there are agreements with fire protection, et cetera. Number four on the review criteria is whether this rezoning would adversely impact the environment, and it has previously been determined that the PUD would not adversely impact the environment. Proof of water supply has been provided. Number five, whether the proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden the existing road system without improvements. When the PUD was approved, adequate traffic studies, reports, letters, and so on, as applicable, were provided and reviewed. And number six, whether the proposed rezoning will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the present or future inhabitants of this fine county. Overall, the PUD amendment here proposed follows the procedure, requirements, and the criteria in the Elbert County zoning regulations for planned unit developments to make minor adjustments, corrections, and clarifications, which this is. Therefore, the findings of the Planning Department recommending that the BOCC find that the proposal is in general conformance with the comp plan. The proposal does meet the criteria for PUD amendments. The proposal is generally compatible with the existing and allowable land uses in the area, and that the proposal will not result in significant impact to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and the landowners. Planning Department recommends the BOCC, Board of County Commissioners, approve the requested Independence Third PUD Amendment lot width. It's PU-2023-1001. Conditions of approval, there are two. The PUD amendment shall not become effective until the fees are paid and resolution is recorded, and two, the recordation of any and all appropriate documentation would occur within 180 days after approval by this board. That concludes my presentation on the staff side, and I'll just leave up this slide here on the proposed amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for staff at this time? Not seeing any. Jim, if you could. Guess the floor is yours. I'm assuming that we're just looking at being able to accommodate narrower lot fronts on cul-de-sac, triangular lots, et cetera. And
Yeah, so Jim Yates, for the record, with Craft Companies. We did not have a presentation prepared. I think staff did this, but just to clarify that, we had a potential conflict when we had a range of lot fronts and then also the square footages. So as if we made a deeper lot, but it was the same width, there was a potential conflict. So it's really not trying to change what we're doing. And in the plat that you'll see coming next, it is literally the same lots that were in the prior filings, and they're the same
that just was
footprint
not-
in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
And then the reduction of the single setback, is that to accommodate paired homes?
correct. That's correct. And that is not in this next plat, but that has the, in the last PUD amendment that was allowed, that product was allowed in there, so that it's kind of cleaning up that language.
Okay, appreciate that. Any questions for Jim or? No, okay. I would open for public comment at this time. Seems relatively straightforward. If I was reading right, I think this was meant to be addressed in the last amendment and just didn't make it in, so, okay. Okay, seeing none for public comment, we'll close at this time. I guess I have no further questions other than the conditions. Do you have anything?
I have none. So you want to?
Yeah, if you could just ask Jim to address whether he accepts the conditions.
Oh, yes. Does the applicant accept the conditions of approval?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The applicant indicated he would. So with that, I would accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the Independence Third PUD Amendment Lot Width Application known as PU-2023-1001.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve with conditions that were displayed, the third PUD amendment regarding lot width. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I guess I would accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing on Independence Third PUD Amendment Lot Width, PU 2023-1001.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to close public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, their hearing is closed. And are you teed up for the next work? All righty. All right. So, while we're bringing that up, I would ask for a motion to open public hearing on Independence filing for final plat.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing on Independence filing for final plat FP 22-0062.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark Dedenreader, Director of Community and Economic Development. You will now hear Independence filing number 4, case number FP-22-0062. This is a request for a final plat approval. This would be for 140 single-family residential lots. And this is the same landowner and applicant rep as the previous case. Jim Yates, applicant rep, 1001 Hilltop Road, Elizabeth is the location. Here is the vicinity map again. In the northwest quadrant, you can see the yellow pin for the Independence Master Plan Community. Here's a zoning map, the surrounding zoning and uses. To the north, we have agricultural parcel at 320 acres. To the south, RA1, which is residential agriculture. There's also a PUD to the south, Coyote Hills and Hilltop Landing subdivisions. To the west, we have a PUD of 449 acres, and to the east, ag land at 1,040 acres. Here's an aerial shot of Independence. The process for this, it did go before the Planning Commission back in October on the 17th, and approval was recommended by that body, the Planning Commission, with a 6-0 vote in favor. Here are the list of referral agencies. There was an item related to road names, but that item was addressed out of the assessor's office. Elbert County Engineer and Kimley Horn. A few comments regarding construction and traffic documents. These items were addressed. Also some comments on drainage, grading, erosion, et cetera, but these also addressed through that referral process back and forth, ironing out those items. Elizabeth Fire Protection Districts had some comments regarding fire flow, fire hydrants. Those items were also addressed, and no objections from other referral agencies. Review criteria for this application points to Article 1C of the Elbert County Subdivision Regulations, and there are 5 review criteria for these type of subdivision applications. So the first one is whether the subdivider has provided evidence that provision has been made for a water supply that is sufficient. We believe that the subdivider has provided necessary documentation to prove this with a will serve letter for filing for from the Independence Water and Sanitation District, and this district has previously provided proof of supply that was deemed sufficient and approved by the Colorado Division of Water Resources for the planned unit development. Number 2, review criteria. It's whether the subdivider has provided evidence that it can establish that there's a proper public sewage disposal system in place. The subdivider has provided a will serve letter, as previously mentioned, for filing for from the Independence Water and Sanitation District. Number 3 is whether or not the subdivider has provided evidence to show that all areas of the proposed subdivision, which would involve any kind of soil or topographical conditions presenting hazards or requiring special precautions, have been identified and addressed. Recent studies and reports reviewed by the county engineer showed no issues related to this. The 4th item pertaining to the review criteria is whether the application is in compliance with Elbert County's subdivision and zoning regs. And this proposed application we deem in compliance with the requirements outlined in the current Elbert County regulations, both subdivision and zoning, and we deem it sufficient. Number 5 is whether the application is generally consistent with the intent, policies, and the goals of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan, and staff also believes the proposal does support the comp plan through its various goals and policies outlined in that document. Therefore, the Planning Department recommends to the Board of County Commissioners that you find that the water and wastewater is sufficient. There's no soil or topography that's going to impede with development there, and the plat does comply with the regulations, and finally that the plat complies with the comp plan. Our recommendation from the Planning Department is for you to approve the requested Independence filing number 4, FP-220062 final plat. And there are some conditions, 4 of them. First one, the applicant will be required to remove public hearing signs within 7 days. Number 2, the final plat is not going to become effective until fees are paid and any conditions of approval are met, and the final plat exhibit does need to be recorded. Number 3, recordation of all appropriate documentation must occur within 180 days after approval. And finally, number 4, building permits will not be issued until any applicable filing roads are inspected and accepted by the county into the 2-year warranty period. That concludes our staff report. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff at this time? Mr. Yates? Oh, okay.
It's always so nice when technology works for a change, eh?
I don't know, for a change or for the moment. So.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mark Kiefer, members of the commission. I'm with the firm Norris Design, representing craft companies this afternoon. So what we're here to talk about this afternoon is filing for, as Mr. Dettenreiter had described. This is the 4th filing within Independence. Just have a real quick PowerPoint presentation for you. I always say that it's always good to end a hearing day with at least one PowerPoint from an applicant. So, but I just wanted to introduce our team today too. As you know, Jim Yates, who's already spoke briefly in the previous discussion item, but then myself representing Norris Design. We are mostly planning and landscape architects on this project. And then Rob Hansen, our civil engineer, representing our civil team. He's here this afternoon to answer any questions, as well as Kate Madden from Brownstein Hyatt, representing us legally on this project. So with that, I just wanted to give you an overview of what the project looks like and where it is in conjunction with Independence. It's the upper darker green area within Independence, and you'll see on this graphic particularly, we're right at that point in the project today. We're about halfway done, halfway through the overall project and development program within Independence. As you probably have heard and known, things are moving very quickly, in terms of sales and market acceptance of that area. So we have approximately 300 new homeowners or residences, I should say, which probably equates to about 620, 650 new residents within Elbert County, happy residents, I might add. So with that, this next filing 4, is to add another 140 single-family units within the project, and I understand that there are probably contracts right now pending with builders to start that filing as soon as possible. So I just also wanted to point out too, in terms of promises that were made originally in this project many years ago when we first started, this is a conservation community, and the commitment was to provide for at least, if not more, than 50% open space. What we're at right now with filing 4, with an additional 47.2 acres just within filing 4, we're at about 349 acres overall that would be dedicated to the Metro District as perpetual open space within Independence. Just a real brief history lesson too on Independence. I know that most of the commissioners have been around since the beginning of this discussion, but the original project was referred to as the Bandera East and Bandera West PUDs, approved back in 2009. We recently had a PUD amendment in 2022, which was the Independence, that's when Independence was branded, if you will, and it became what you see today in terms of the 1,400 dwelling units that are approved for the project right now. The planning process, which is the next step in the zoning, from zoning to platting, filings 1 through 3 have a total of 696 dwelling units. Those are already approved and under construction, and as I mentioned, we now have 300 homeowners within those areas too. Filing 4 would bring the total number of lots within Independence up to 836. And as you know, it's well under the 1,400 that are currently approved with an Independence project. With that, I just want to reiterate that we're probably at that tipping point right now where we are now over halfway done with the project. A lot of infrastructure is also underway in construction right now too, which I'm sure the commissioners may have some questions about. But part of that have been all the commitments that have been made previously, both in the zoning portion of this project and the previous the subdivision plats, filings 1, 2, and 3. So all of these are culminating with this particular plat as well. Just a quick overview, just a couple images of Independence if you haven't been out there lately. The rec center and community center are built right now, as well as all the improvements around there. Several miles of trails are being bladed out right now and under construction. We have 3 builders, active builders right now, and a possible 4th, I think. Jim, is it? Yeah, 4 altogether. And so they're all very active in this market and certainly appreciate what they have seen Elbert County presenting to them in terms of future development. And then just a close-up of filing 4. What we have here is, you can see it's the next portion of the project to the west of filing 3. The internal open space, what we're calling internal open space, that's developed parkland within that plat. That's about 1.8 acres. The overall external open space within filing 4 itself is 45.4 acres. And the developed portion of filing 4, which would be the lots, the roads, and everything else associated with that, at about 37.2 acres. So again, the types of lots that we're looking at here are basically the same types of patterns that we have looked at in filings 1, 2, and 3. The builders certainly appreciate that, as well as the people that are buying into this market. So we're talking about lot widths of about 50 to 70 feet. They're fairly deep lots, up to 110 feet in depth. So they're fairly large single-family lots. But again, what it does provide for us some additional diversification in terms of a product type out there in this particular area. So I can just close by saying some of the criteria that, and again, I'll reiterate some of the points that Mr. Dettenreiter had made earlier, some of the criteria that would be considered by the Board of County Commissioners for all plats is whether or not the final plat is served by sufficient water supply in terms of quality, quantity, and dependability. We think we approved that in terms of our referral process. Whether the final plat is served by a viable public sewage disposal system that complies with local and state regulations. Again, this is an extension from the existing system and plant that we have in place right now. And whether the final plat identifies precautions and protections from any geotechnical conditions on the property, and as a requirement both from your code, but also just as a general liability issue for every builder that is in the area, there are soils tests and geotech reports that are submitted with each building site. So, and then also whether the final plat complies with the requirements of both the Elbert County zoning resolution and the Elbert County subdivision resolution. Those are the basic parameters that we would work within regardless. Just that's our starting point, if you will, in terms of any application we submit to you. And then finally, whether the proposed final plat conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals and policies of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan, which again, we feel that we have met that. In addition to that, I think that we also have reckoned with the housing study that you've recently published as well, and trying to embody those policies and priorities that you've already established. So with that, I think we're finished with our presentation. We're open to any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, just a couple. The questions we get from the public usually deal more with infrastructure rather than house size. Could you give us a little indication of the timing of doing Hancock and Elbert and 158?
Jim Yates again, in case you forgot. So we just met earlier today with county staff, with Monty and Darren and Jay, and have gone through a whole bunch of conversations. The Hilltop, I'll start with that. That was a newer obligation. That, as we went through and potholed that, without making this too long of a conversation, we gathered a bunch of information. The county asked us for some additional information on the subgrade. Both of us are aligned in that we don't want to just kind of put some asphalt on top of a bad base, but we also don't want to necessarily go further than we need to in areas that are good. We are running LiDAR on that now, so we're gathering some additional kind of 3D data on that, and we'll come up with a recommendation and a plan. I think both sides feel like we've put enough money into the project that we can get a good solution to that. That work will probably not be done until next year, although what we'll do, and when I say next year, next spring, we will start to work on some of the things that you have to do to put edges on before we actually shut the road down and pave. So some of the tie-ins, the driveways, things like that, the connections on either end. We'll probably get to some of that here over the winter time. As far as Delbert Road, same thing. We've had some issues with Kinder Morgan, who has a pretty significant interstate gas line that runs north and south along our western border. We've had to move the road alignment to the east. County staff is looking at a project to do some additional work on Singing Hills east of us, but we kind of worked today on the design, how we kind of meet in the middle and patch that together. Next step on that is we're meeting with Douglas County in the next week or two to get their buy-in to what we want to do. So that is one that we want to start in January. We can start where it's on our property and then push forward, and then it goes up a fair ways, and then the last piece that the design has not been completed is at the intersection there. I think that's it on any other infrastructure or any other offsites.
Yeah, and Hancock will be tying into Delbert Road. Will all of those come together about the same time?
Correct. So Hancock is basically graded and stormwater is all in. We have not paved it except up to the western leg of Filing 3. So Filing 3 has 2 legs that go in. We're up to the western leg or just past that. With this Filing 4, we'll bring it up to that point, and then as Delbert gets connected to the north, we'll connect Hancock back in.
Just, I think on the closer up internal roads, it looked like there'll be a road that connects the northern part of Filing 3 into that gap on Filing 4 is...
Yeah, so the northern connection that goes to I think it's Serenity Point, is just outside of the Filing 4 boundary. That's why you don't see it on here. But there is a road alignment shown, and I won't make the statement to ask that you made us do it.
No, it's fine.
It's fine.
I actually was more the connectivity between Filing 3 and Filing 4. It looked like, is there
that road
off the
there,
cul-de-sac into
that's a
that gap?
maintenance road, so
Okay.
it's not a public access road,
Okay.
but it is a connection road between those two.
Okay, so it's also available for emergency.
That's correct.
I assume the same off of Ford or whatever Filing comes into the west of it.
Yes, that's correct. And all of our trails will be in conformance that they can get emergency vehicles down along those too, so that'll help.
Alrighty.
I have one more curiosity question. We've heard from some, not independents necessarily, but other developers that the natural gas suppliers don't want to come in anymore. Now, you have a pipeline that already goes to Independence.
We do. So I probably have to be careful how I state this, but my understanding is that there's a statewide objective that is limiting the growth of natural gas, and the way they're doing that is with new communities. So that doesn't mean that we can't, but I think as we look at other projects that we have teed up, we're having to look at whether that is all electric. Independence should be fine with its gas because we already have a main gas line come in.
I think that's what we have for now. I'll open for public comment if there is any. Alrighty, seeing none, I'll close public comment. And I guess there's nothing more to address at that point. I would accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve Independence filing for final plat FP 22-0062.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to, and that was with the conditions?
Yeah, with the conditions.
Okay, and the applicant is noting that they accept the conditions. So we have a motion and a second to approve with the conditions that were presented, case FP 22-0062. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I'd accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close public hearing on Independence filing for final plat FP 22-0062.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. There's no further business before us today, so I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned for the day. Thank you very much. Thank you.